Much that I either wanted to do or could do as it pertained to Ptahhotep. Hotep. I don't know how how do you pronounce that? Oh man. Um, hey everybody, this is Lambdog76, and what you're watching is part of my continuing Philosophy 102 series, and each one of these videos don't feel like you're in the middle of something. I'm trying to produce each one of these videos in a way that allows them to stand on their own, and let me know if I fall short of that. uh, I'll try to put a link. I haven't, at the time of this recording, I haven't established a playlist for them yet, but I'm doing this research as much for me as for you. But the idea is to get a little bit deeper into philosophy, as opposed to just defining what philosophy is and how it affects our lives. Digging a little bit deeper than what the average autodidact would maybe come across. And I'm doing that by researching previous previous philosophers at this point historically, going back to the originals. I mean, even further back than what is sometimes typical. Our last video had us looking at a very, very early Greek philosopher, and this one has us looking at the absolute earliest philosopher that I could find in my research, that is Ptahhotep. Now, so far, an interesting part about Ptahhotep is that there's actually a religion based around these particular maxims that we have a recorded history of. Now, there's 4 copies of the Maxims of Ptahhotep, and they date back to the 25th century BC. It's an Egyptian finding, and what it is, it's a list of all these do's and don'ts for morality in the time, and it gives us an example of what Egyptian morality was and the baseline of what the best understanding of morality could be. There's some things on there that are, of course, dated, like the way that we look at other genders. Ptahhotep obviously lived in a time where a man's word was greater than a woman's, and some of his maxims respond accordingly. And I think that's interesting, considering some of the rumors that surround how Egyptian culture was. Now, this is extremely early Egyptian culture. I mean, we're only talking the 5th dynasty, so that's pretty far back. And for those of you scoring at home, 24th century BC, man, that's almost 5,000 years ago. We're looking at 4,400 years ago, and there's some basic things that just have not changed in 4,400 years. Treating your man as you would want to be treated. Acknowledging there's hints of even moral sentiment, and what I mean by that is Ptahhotep instructs on how to treat a person of both higher standing and lower standing. I mean, this stuff 4,400 years ago, okay, and my point is that people are writing books now stating the same things that Ptahhotep said 4,400 years ago and selling them as if they're innovative, okay? That's my point there. I'm not going to give you a particular example because there's a good PDF, which I have right here, that I found on the internet, and it has his maxims laid out, and you can read them for yourself. It's free, and I'll try to put a link to where you can find that in the description. I'll let them stand for what they are. like I said, there's a couple things that I feel are dated, but in a way, if you put them in context, they make perfect sense uh, as it pertains to moral sentiment again. And whether you like it or not, truth is one of those things that tends to work, and it's irrelevant to whether or not you like it. There's a lot of things that are true that I don't care for. Uh, And I don't know, I've built it up a little bit, so I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Ptahhotep talks about what you need to do or how you need to treat a son who isn't towing the line, who is misbehaving, who doesn't seem to be worthy of an inheritance that you're leaving him. Ptahhotep says, cut him off. And it's like, wow, this is a child that you love. But think about it. How many examples can you think of either your friends or even your parents, um, who have tolerated misbehavior, and it leads to everybody's ruin? You know what I'm saying? So it's very interesting. Now, another interesting thing about Ptahhotep is that it was my first experience of encountering a philosopher that has a religion based around him. And I was surprised by that. I wasn't prepared for it because, studying mainly Western philosophy, this first example of a other than Western philosophy, I would say Egyptian is maybe Near East is what we could call Egyptian, but it's kind of the Middle East. I don't know, give or take. I don't. It doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a religion, and this religion is called Ma'at, with that's M-A apostrophe A-T. Well, and I don't know how to put this, but let's just say that this particular religion is part of Afrocentric histrionics. Okay, and that's the pursuit that that the African, more specifically the Nubian African culture, is the center and the greatest historical center for history. And I think it's an interesting thing, but in my opinion, it's one of those things that closes the door to what is possibly a more true concept. Okay, just because the Maxims of Ptahhotep are the oldest written philosophy examples that we can find, don't necessarily mean that that is the oldest philosophy around. Prehistoric wisdom on a tribal standpoint, just because it's not written down or it's been lost or destroyed, I mean, you can't just be like, well, just because it's the oldest one we can find, that means it's the oldest there is, and you put your little flag on that, and and you just go to war. You know what I'm saying? I also found it interesting that those people. That's kind of funny though. What do you mean, you people? There's the mot. I also find it interesting that instead of saying it's Egyptian culture, these particular people say that it's African culture, and that's cool. Um, I don't know. I was surprised and I was interested, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last philosopher in my studies that I find that has a religion uh, based around what he wrote, but Ptahhotep definitely does. So, all right. With that being said, and I'm not really sure if I managed to actually say something in this recording, I hope all of you are doing well, and we'll be continuing this series. And I don't know right off the top of my head who our next installment will be, but I'll do my best to research it and have something interesting. And we'll see you all then. Take care.